Hi guys, welcome back to another review. So this is going to be a quick review of the Karate Kid Part 3. After rewatching it for the second time, I'm still not really a big fan of it. And I was kind of a bit worried about Jessica. She's actually okay, but she doesn't really stick around by the end. Like you kind of know that she's not really a permanent girlfriend, for LaRusso. But yeah, I'd definitely say Terry Silver's definitely the MVP of this movie. Without him, and say like if they just used the same sensei, I don't think this movie would probably be even worse. So yeah, Terry Silver definitely carries this movie. He's a good villain, one of the best in I guess the Karate Kid series. Yeah, I'd definitely say that. It just looks like he was in a weak movie though, and how they make Daniel kind of go down a dark path in a way. Not really bad, but still, yeah, I'm still not really a big fan of what they do with Daniel Russo in this movie. Yeah, because basically, when he comes back from Mr. Miyagi's country, he decides to open up a business for Miyagi, since that was Mr. Miyagi's dream. To have a business, with those trees. But then Mr. Miyagi wants him to use that money for his college intuition. But that me like Lewis wanted to do this instead because he was thinking that maybe college wouldn't work out for him, and he wants to be business partners with Miyagi. But then like these people start to come around because basically, so this is what happened after I guess part two, but from the beginning with John Creefs. Basically, he just got mopey. Like people stopped going to his dojo. But then Terry Silver, a war buddy of his, when John Creefs was in the war, he basically like I guess he became friends with this guy and he kind of saved him a few times. So he just felt like Terry Silver owed John Creese for protecting him and stuff. So he kind of works with him to get revenge on Mr. Miyagi and Daniel. So his plan is to basically train Daniel. Yeah, I think that was the original plan, and just get to a point where he's gonna break him. And I think that's the. It's just a weird goal, but yeah. And he basically puts John Creese on holiday or something, while Terry Silver's kind of making this plan. You see, the plan is kind of a bit not really the best plan, but I still like Terry Silver as a villain. Not like it's not an awful plan, but he did make some errors, and he should have found out more about Mr. Miyagi first, because his plan was just to get Daniel as a student, but he should have found out like about Mr. Miyagi because this is a very close person to Daniel, and he would eventually pull him back from this darkness that he's going into. Because Terry Silver does like become his teacher because Mr. Miyagi doesn't want Daniel to go back in for another tournament, and Daniel's kind of fine with this. He accepts that because he doesn't really need to defend it because for the way how Mr. Miyagi's teach Daniel, he didn't really need to defend his title, not really, especially since they're kind of moving on and working together. Daniel and Miyagi with this business that he's building. So he didn't really need to, but then Terry Silver kind of hires like this champion from another place to mess with Daniel, to force him to sign it, and man, they go so far to wrecking, try to wreck the business, stealing the plants, the bonsai, plants, bonsai. Yeah, this basically been stealing them. And when Daniel goes to get one from that hill, because I guess Mr. Miyagi kind of shows Daniel where he gets all of his bonsai trees from. Before I called them oak trees, but yeah, it's kind of like this hill area, but they're kind of below, and you kind of have to like mountain climb to reach them. So Daniel does this with this girl that he meets, Jessica. I actually didn't really remember Jessica that well in this movie. For some reason, I was thinking she wasn't really that great of a character anyway. She's okay, but she's not really going to stick around because from the very beginning, she kind of says that anyway. She has a boyfriend, so yeah, She was just like there for a bit anyway. Not someone that he was gonna be with for a while. Yeah, and it kind of sucks that they couldn't bring like Kimiko back because she basically has like something already like a course or something that she's doing, like a dancing course or something, and that's going well for her. So she stays back, in Mr. Miyagi's country. Because man, like Daniel and Kimiko, like definitely the best relationship I've seen in like the series. Even though like he's with his wife now in Cobra Kai, Amanda, it seems like he has a good relationship with her. Obviously, like he had kids and everything, and it seems like he found the right person in the end. But I just kind of wish there was a reality where he actually got with Kimiko and the relationship got further. But sadly, it didn't, and I kind of stuck with Jessica in this movie, which that goes nowhere. And not even when it, she's okay. She kind of helps them mix the plant pots and everything. Even puts the Miyagi logo with the tree. Like she's okay, I guess. For some reason, I was thinking she was like on the side of Terry Silver and pretending to be like close with Lewis or something. But I don't know why I thought that. Going back to this movie, that was my bad. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, she's okay, I guess. But yeah, I just don't like what they do with Daniel in this movie. Because, like I said in my Cobra Kai review, like he joins Cobra Kai, Daniel, but he doesn't think, because it basically Terry Silver says that John Crews was his friend, his war body, but then he dies. Which this is when he fakes his death. His first time he fakes his death. Yeah, so Daniel thinks he's dead, and Terry Silver's just trying to possibly make a better Cobra Kai to honor his friend or something, which is just lying to Daniel anyway. Like everything that he does is a lie. Like all the training that he does for him and everything, it's all a lie. But still, wouldn't Daniel think something's wrong if it's like he's training in Cobra Kai like Terry Silver? I'd be thinking like there must be something wrong here, but it still goes with it because Miyagi's not training him, and their relationship's kind of falling apart. Where it looks like, but it's kind of making Miyagi really sad because that's the only person he has right now, and that Mr. Miyagi really cherishes. So I do feel sad for Miyagi in this film. Ugh, it just sucks what they do with Daniel Man in this movie, and that's why I'm never gonna be a big fan of it. I'd prefer part two over this one. Yeah, and this is the last time we see Daniel and Miyagi together. Yeah, things work out in the end, and they get along again. And Miyagi trains him after he realizes. Well, Daniel realizes that this guy was just fooling with him, and he sees Creeps again. Daniel's reaction because he thought he was dead as well. Learning him these moves that he's not really gonna use, and they're not really that great as well compared to what he's training with that guy who fights Daniel at the end. I just don't know what to say about the sequel really. I just don't like it that much, and that's why I don't want it to be a long review really. But yeah, on that bottom left, he eventually, fights the guy because we do see a montage, with Chris and Terry Silver, training the guy that Daniel's gonna fight. Man, that guy was just such a bully. He even got to a point where he possibly would have left, Daniel and Jessica like down a hill where the waves would have washed them up when they was getting like a bonsai plant because they was trying to make up for what they stole. But then even after all that, Miyagi kind of sells his card to get more bonsai trees anyway. But he didn't know that anyway, Daniel. Yeah, and I kind of like the message with the tree because when Daniel actually gets back up, that guy just destroys the tree. But then Miyagi's bit was able to fix it, but the tree kind of mainly fixed itself because it had strong roots, and basically Daniel is this tree because this tree went through a lot. Like it was at the part where it could have just died easily, but it still recovered. And Miyagi's trying to explain that to Daniel, that because Daniel's kind of falling apart in this movie, like he's making bad choices. And Miyagi, explains that to Daniel that he can recover just like this tree, and then that's when he wants to get away from Terry Silver, and then that's the reveal of Creeves still being alive and all that, and Terry Silver tricking him and everything. Like this was his whole plan. So then he's kind of forced to fight, but then this is when Miyagi comes to help out Daniel and actually fights John Creeves and Terry Silver, which was cool. And then that's when Miyagi trains Daniel again. Then we get to the final fight, and man, Daniel's getting destroyed. is just kind of like in fear at this point with how he's getting wrecked, man. Because that was, you know, the whole plan in the first place, to show, you know, Daniel fear. But Miyagi's there for him to, for him to focus and remember that he truly is the best student. But I just couldn't really go with most of the messages apart from the tree one that Mr. Miyagi was saying. Especially agreeing to still do the fight, but you know he didn't really have a choice at that point anyway. With what they did to him. But yeah, in the end, Daniel defeats this guy because man, that guy was a douche at the end, saying his senses, shit, just taunting him so much because he probably had he thought he probably had Daniel at his breaking point, but from Mr. Mike's words, like he recovers and beats him with this, like he throws him on the floor and then does that finishing punch, and then the movie's over, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I kind of missed a few things, but since this is not really I don't know, I just don't really like and definitely don't love this movie. It's just like it's okay, it's okay sequel. I'm more like the part two than part three, and I know there's some people out there who really like part three, but it's just I'm not really a big fan of the message in this movie. I could kind of see how some people would really like or possibly love this movie and say it's the best in the trilogy, with how like you're just making all these bad choices and then in the end you can recover from it. Like, and the message that Miyagi says, like one of the messages at least, that like that's a really good point. Like you're going through so much stuff, like you're making all these bad choices, but then you can come back from it. Like I like that message, but to me it wasn't done perfectly like what they did with the first movie. I feel like they had a better message in the first movie, man. And just in the third one, I just wasn't really a big fan of it. But yeah, I guess that's my review of the Karate Kid Part 3. I guess I'm done with the LaRusso trilogy. I guess next will be the next Karate Kid, and then the 2010 one, which I grew up with, which I definitely really like that movie. Can I say loved though? I don't know. When I finally watched the original 1984 movie, I definitely love that movie, and instantly put it in my top 10 movies of all time. I'd still say I really like the Jaden Smith one, and the next Karate Kid. Well, we'll get to that when I review it. But yeah, next is going to be Cobra Kai season 3, the latest Cobra Kai season. Can't wait to review that. And I think they're bringing back someone from part 2, so yeah, which I've already mentioned a lot of times. So yeah, can't wait. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.